Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Utopia podcast. I'm Chris, and alongside me is Tommy. Tommy, how are you?
I'm doing good tonight. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. This past week we had 2 blog entries for NCAA Football 10, so we'll hop right to it. First off, we'll get some of the minor additions out of the way. This week, Adam Thompson, one of the producers of the game, was kind enough to post several screenshots of some new uniforms added to the game. These include the Army camouflage uniforms and also the new Navy Enforcer uniform. Also, we should clarify something from a Madden blog this week and something that people have probably noticed looking at NCAA Football 10 and Madden NFL 10 screenshots. If you notice the pictures of the players in the forefront are really sharp and the background players in the background are a little fuzzy, that is the new depth of field. This is something that's a camera mechanic. It's what you see when you look at a newspaper photo or when you watch a game on TV. They brought that over to both of the football titles to make them more realistic. And in the video podcast right now, we'll have a couple pictures of Alabama, showing this off in action. The first blog entry this week was from Russ Canary, and it talked about pocket protection. Tommy, you are the expert, the man when it comes to explaining features, so guess what? You can have all the fun again.
Basically, as most people that know a little bit about football know, pocket protection is the offensive line building kind of a pocket around the quarterback. Offensive tackles will try to push any blitzing linebackers or defensive ends out wide, and then the guards and center will just try to hold off the front rush, basically giving the quarterback enough time to look downfield and find receivers. In the NCAA 09, we saw this from time to time, but it was more a matter of dumb luck. It didn't seem to happen as regularly as it should. But then with NCAA 10, Russ has mentioned that he is working to fine-tune that, working to make it happen on a regular basis. And it'll be good not only from a standpoint of just simply watching the game and seeing it transpire, but also it'll allow you as a quarterback to sit in the pocket and also read how the rush is coming at you. It looks really good in the pictures that he's shown, and we saw this last week, and it still was a work in progress, but it looked good as it was taking place.
One of the things Russ talked about over the course of several different forums this past week is, like you said, it's still a work in progress. And one of their goals is to make the ratings matter more. Where a 90-rated defensive lineman, or maybe just a defensive line overall that's really dominant, will more often than not get past the weaker offensive lineman. But he said he wanted to make sure that's not a 100% kind of thing. And that is something I think that a lot of people want the ratings to matter more. And that's something they're really putting a big focus on.
Pretty much every rating category across the board, the better rated player should always, or pretty much always, dominate the lower rated opponent. And as offensive line and defensive line, that should be very evident just because, they interact with each other every snap of the ball.
In our second blog entry of the week, Russ Canary came back again, and this time he showcased the new defensive pursuit angles and also talked about twitch running, which existed in NCAA Football 09 and hopefully will be eradicated for NCAA Football 10. The first video the blog showed from NCAA Football 09 a running back able to just get outside and go straight down the sideline. As long as he could get around, pretty much running in outside, that the defenders would take what I would call a J shape, get behind him, just horrible pursuit angles. Tommy, I know this is something that everyone who's played NCAA Football 9 pretty much agreed something that needed addressed.
Yeah, it's really pretty bad in NCAA 9. As long as you've got a guy he really doesn't even have to be faster than the defense. All he has to do is get to the outside, and then the defense will pretty much follow straight behind him. Instead of trying to get ahead of him and cut him off with the pass, they instead just simply try to run straight at him and tackle him instead of getting ahead of him and stop him. It's definitely a welcome change in NCAA 10. And as we saw this a couple weeks ago when we were in Orlando, it is a big improvement. One of the quickest things I learned was that the drag routes across the middle, while you can still complete them, the defense takes a much better angle to tackle you after you make that catch. I mean, sometimes even the defender that's trailing right behind you will take the correct angle and knock you off as soon as you catch the ball. It looked really nice.
And the second video along with this from NCAA Football 10 shows kind of how they've corrected it and what it looks like now when your running back is able to get outside. Defenders do not run to where you were. They figure out where you're going and the best way to go and kind of cut you off. Is it possible to get big plays still? Yes, but this year a big play maybe 20, 30 yards and not a 70 or 80-yard touchdown run. And the second set of videos First off, from NCAA 09, an example of twitch running. What this is if you're really quick on the sticks, you have your running back kind of go back and forth, left to right, as he's going in one general direction. Well, last year, the way the pursuit angles were, defenders would then kind of follow the same direction your player was going, and while you were able to still go full speed, they would slow down as they did their twitch or their movement. And that is something that's also been fixed for NCAA Football 10, as the second video will show.
Yeah, the second video, it really shows off what it should be. I mean, the running back takes the ball, and he's basically, juking and driving in the backfield. And on 09, the defender would have easily just simply followed the wrong angle. But then on 10, he cuts him off at the pass and knocks him out, maybe getting a yard or two at most.
One of the neat things about having a blog like this is that it shows the differences between NCAA Football 09 and NCAA Football 10. And I think it's something that the community really hopes the NCAA Football team, the Madden team, and pretty much the developers of every sports game will copy and do in their pre-release information. That people like to see what changes are made. Obviously, pursuit angles were a big issue. That's why they came out and had this blog so early to talk about it. That I think if you can go through as a development team, find the big issues, show how they were fixed, I think it really engages the community and makes them feel more involved as part of the development process, realizing that their complaints and thoughts about pursuit angles have been changed and improved. It's really a positive win-win situation for everybody involved. And with that, we'll wrap up this episode of the Utopia podcast. We have to end it like we always do. Tommy, how many days are we away from the release of NCAA Football 10? Here we are on March 30th.
106 days and counting. Lots of time to either anticipate the game or lots of time to basically hate on the game. Your choice.
That is very true, but July 14th will be here before we know it. Tommy, thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone, thanks for listening to this edition of the Utopia podcast.